Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you for joining me. Very late live. The other day, I brought you content pertaining to the Proudfoots in comparison to the whales. Well, the cases are eerily similar. And now we're going to talk about Jacqueline and Giselle West and the same comparisons. Versions. What was the version given pertaining to the little boys missing from Cal City? They were outside playing with chalk. The whales. A little girl was outside helping a grandmother plant flowers, and then she went into the home, disappeared. Proudfoots. A boy child allegedly went to sleep after 9 p.m. The mother goes into his room the following Monday morning at 6 a.m. and he's gone. What is the gist of the story of all three cases? There has been no verification of planting flowers, going into a house. We later learned two little boys were not outside playing with chalk. They were already deceased. Per information, neighbors' CCTV footage on their home and accounts given by the said children. Proudfoots. No verification of a boy child even making it home from Sunday dinner. The West. If you see them, they may be rambunctious. I do believe that's what Mr. Proudfoot said about this boy child. Jacqueline, swaying back and forth, looking around. She seemed like she was scared, deer in headlights. Katie, looking downward in her interview with Chronicles of Olivia. I think she looked up maybe twice near the end, speaking to the young lady. She also rocked back and forth, okay? As someone said in one chat, soothing herself, okay? Soothing herself. Jacqueline swaying back and forth, looking around. Family members of the decedents there asking questions. They were not ready for that. They did not know that the neighbors realized how many children left with them on that Sunday, days before they reported the boys missing, and did not know what their children had told law officials, which led the investigation from Cal City to Bakersfield. Then you have the Wells, nothing around to show anything coming or going. Up the road, down the road, or a driveway. Nobody to verify anything. Proudfoots, the version they've given us, is dark outside. Lying about CCTV footage to Nancy Grace, but yet allegedly have cameras inside of her house. Can only speak of certain things. Eerily similar behavior by all. What is the main thing all have done? That is to say, They have lied about their children. And neither family searched. The West did not search for their two boys because they knew exactly where they were. No need to search. The Wells have no need to search for a little girl, their girl child Summer, because they know exactly where she is. And the Proudfoots have no need to search for their 15-year-old son, Sebastian, because they know where he is. Don't you find that interesting? 3 separate cases, different parts of the coast, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, and the one similar fact in each case is that no one is searching for the children. Why is that? The Wells and the Proudfoots are similar. The males are the dominant force in giving diversion, talking endlessly to social media. Mr. Wells, I do believe you have met your match with CP. I'll call him CP so I don't have to say the full name. You have met your match. And it's odd behavior to go to social media to answer random questions over and over and over again. How many interviews can you give? This is so similar. The only difference with the Proudfoots and the West, they tapered off after their first interview. They did not talk to the news. They did not do any YouTube stunts, panels, chats. They may have been lurking, but you couldn't verify that they were, around. It's the only difference. But the women sway and rock. Jacqueline swayed back and forth, back and forth. Katie rocked forward, back and forth, back and forth. And then with good old Candace, she was just doped up, oblivious. Katie is flat in her commentary, empty, no empathy, because she had already checked out, you see. That's why. That interview with Olivia, she's flat, not looking into the camera, not looking at the person conducting the questions, because there's really nothing to say. Now, CP, he's more boisterous because he likes to be in control. So this is his crowning glory, to be seen. And as most of you who are following this diabolical case, he cannot refrain from talking. And you also saw that with the Wells case. But all 3 are eerily similar, and probably similar to other cases as well. And when you go back in hindsight on a case where parents have been found guilty of unaliving their child, you can notice the things that maybe you didn't even think about at the time, or you did notice and say, that seems strange, how they did this and how they talked, and she swayed and this one rocked, and the wordings used. They're eerily similar. That's why sometimes you have to go back and listen to the content and realize there's something amiss in the conversation, in the tail spinning. The one thing people don't seem to understand, which is true, and as I said, evident in all 3 cases, Proudfoots, Wells, and West, is that they know police, DHS, or whomever is never going to verify what they've told you. So this endless jumping on YouTube to speak is for thrills and follies. And that's the one thing some of you don't get. That's why there's no rush for me to upload every waking second what CP has said to this person, that person. Don't you get it? It's a game. Once I see you've lied in one interview, what is the point in talking about endlessly what you said over here at the next place? Because that's the point of the story. You've got to keep the lies going. And at some point, you're going to forget what you said yesterday, a week ago. And everybody's so enthralled. Now there's new audio of what he said to this person, some dive team, blah, blah, blah. You don't get it. That's Chris's version. You have no verification of anything except for Seth telling you he saw the mother and child leave the restaurant. After that, that's it. That is it. So I can tell you all the things I want to tell you because I know police, sheriff, TBI, CIA, they do not have to come forward to say, oh, by the way, what you heard from Chris, Katie, is the truth, not the truth. Haven't you figured that out? It didn't happen with the Wells. It didn't happen with the West. Why would it happen here? And that's what's so disturbing about this case pertaining to a 15-year-old autistic child, is that these people are spinning a version, mainly Chris. He's doing the most talking because it's obvious Katie can't sit in front of the camera. He's the overzealous one. He's the cocky one. So he wants to be seen. He wants to talk. He has to be seen because this is who he is in his actual life. He has to be validated. He wants to be important. So he's got to get the last word in. He's got to explain himself. But as it goes, the truth needs no explanation. The truth only needs to be repeated one time. And the truth never deviates. And that is what you're getting with this case. Stories, lies, fables, tales, however you want to word it. He knows they're never going to tell you, police, yep, that's the truth. Nope, that ain't the truth. Such as this conversation about riding along with the police to the sites where the scent dog hit this and this. That means absolutely nothing. You don't even know that happened. How do you know it happened? Think about it. Who is going to come forward and say, yeah, we took him along in the car? Him telling you to go to the TBI website for the updates. Don't worry about the flashing lights. Oh, there's nothing to that. Then we heard Seth talking about something about somebody made up something about that in the trucks, dump trucks or whatever. See, you don't know what to believe. You do not know what to believe. Well, the news told it for a reason. How do we know what's the truth or not? The news they don't know. They don't know what happened that night, that morning. They don't know. The only people know are the people that live in that house who are no longer there. Checked out, left. So you have a man telling you, go to the site if you want updates. But yet he knows this is an investigation and they're not going to put everything they've learned on a website. And he knows that. Telling you not to believe assumptions and this and that. And, oh, you're entitled to your opinion. But just, we know the facts. Well, what are those facts, Mr. Proudfoot? Enlighten me. Because I don't know them. What have you told YouTube and the news that is truthful? Name one thing. Oh, that the boy's missing and that's his government name. So that's two things. But I do believe you've left something out in that story of him being missing. You have been caught lying, and yet you're still talking to people. That's what's so baffling. But we saw this with Donald Wells. You're caught up in story, fable, spinning, and yet you still won't stop talking. And my fear is that this story will get winded like Summer Wells. And that will be a horrible thing, because we're now approaching 3 years in that child's disappearance. They have rehearsed their version, but tweaked it and untweaked it with different YouTubers, which was their downfall. And yet they still don't see that talking to YouTube will be their demise. And that's when you know you're dealing with an utter fool. CP is a fool because he doesn't know when to shut up. And trying to make us believe that everything that they have said is the truth is bullshit, because you've already been caught lying about having cameras. But see, that's what liars do. They glaze over the questions. They hope you won't ask direct questions. And they forget what they've told you, because you have to keep the lies going. And at some point, you will forget what you've told someone. Even the best of a liar will fumble. And that's what you have here. So all these little storytelling to this person and audio here and something about the CCTV footage, and it's a game, don't you see? The facts are oblivious. What facts? Facts about what exactly? I'm to believe what about this story pertaining to this kid? You're talking in circles, and everybody's breaking their neck to go back and repeat what Chris Proudfoot said. But you don't have 1 ounce of evidence that is the truth. And this is Summer Wells all over again. Just random conversations about dog scents and riding around in the car with the sheriff, police, blah, 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 blah. I can't tell you this. Took a polygraph, didn't take a polygraph. Now you can't take it, got away. Just a bunch of bullshit. All tests have been taken and passed. It's bullshit. Do we know that Katie passed a polygraph? Vetted and cleared. We have cooperated. Cooperating and cleared are not the same thing. I think most of you should know this. Vetted and cleared. Vetted, cleared, cooperating. Here's an answer for everything. But I believe at some point they won't be cooperating. And they will lawyer up when they realize whatever they've told law enforcement doesn't add up to whatever versions they've given them. And that's the one thing nobody is focusing on in this case. You're listening and repeating what they are saying to this person, that person, but you don't know if that's the version they gave the police, TBI. And I think it's interesting how people don't really focus on that. Because he knows they can only give out certain information and they give it at will. So that's why he said, oh, go to the site. You can get all the updated information. Then she chimes in. That's when she finally looks up from the floor during that Olivia interview. Because they know you're never going to get the truth from law enforcement until they're ready to give it to you. So I can tell you anything. I took a polygraph. I passed it. She passed it. Ronald McDonald passed it. Oh, yeah, I rode around here. We went here. We went over here to the pond. We went over here, and the dog hid here. And yet you've heard before that that was not the truth. And yet he's still spinning that. You don't know what's the truth. And he wants you to know that. You can believe whatever you want. Assume whatever you want. But we know the facts. You know the facts because you know what happened to the child and you're not telling the truth. And the one thing many of you should be saying to yourself, why are you talking to people on YouTube? How many times can you keep talking to somebody and somebody keep asking you the same damn question over and over and over? Well, let me ask you this and let me make sure I get this out. Just like the one lady said, oh, well, I'm going to ask you this one more time and I'm not going to ask it again, but the people in the chat want to know this. For what? If you can't ask direct questions the first time you interview somebody, then you don't need to be interviewing them. That's the spoken word. If you can't think of the questions to ask the first time you interview someone, then what is the point of the second interview? And then the third? And oh, I want to talk. Let me on. Let me come up. I got to tell them something. Because you want to counter what Seth said. What's the point? You've already been caught lying. So I'm just trying to understand the human mind, why anybody would want to keep interviewing somebody. And you already see that they're lying. So you bring them back on the panel. Now, let me ask you this one more time. And you said you went over here and you did this. And I mean, if they lied, what is bringing them back on to talk about? I mean, talk about what? This is the thing I don't get with people. Because let me tell you something. If and when they find something incriminating, if they haven't already, and they decide to tell the public, do you really think they're going to come back and want to talk to you about that? Because they think they have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's. That's what this is about. This is no different than the West case in California, no different than the Wells in East Tennessee. It's the same game. I believe I've dotted all my I's, crossed all my T's. I could tell you any version because I know law enforcement, other agencies, Department of Human Services, whomever, they're never going to tell you what it is you want to know or whatever it is you're assuming I did or did not do. So I'll tell you anything because I know they're never going to verify it. And that's what you have here with the Proudfoots. Just endless chitter chatter. He knows you'll never find out the truth until shit hits the fan. Then you'll get the truth. Maybe partial truth. But he knows law officials are not going to tell you anything. So he can sit up here on these panels and just talk endlessly about absolutely nothing. The West spun their version one time to the news, and they never spoke again. They went off into the world, and they did their own thing. They never searched for the two little boys because they knew that they were gone. It's the same here. The only difference is this male is doing all the talking. But the females, eerily similar. Katie rocking back and forth. Jacqueline West swaying side to side, swinging around like a little kid. Oh, I know they must be around here somewhere, or maybe in somebody's house, or blah, 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 you know. They weren't in anybody's house. Nobody picked them up. They weren't outside playing with chalk because they were dead. Now, when they exactly died, who knows? One child believes, one came with them. Maybe one was killed back in Bakersfield. But the point is they're both deceased. There's no way I believe one's out there somewhere. And I don't believe this child is alive. And no matter the motive, it doesn't matter. Nobody has any reason to unalive a kid. If you look at cases of people who have unalived their children, and you compare the interviews and their commentary to other cases, you will see some similarity. And I'm seeing it now in this case with the West case and the Wells case. Each case has something similar to all cases. The behavior of the parents, the commentary. And as I said, the one thing all three have done, they never searched for the child. And that should be your primary focus. Because there's no reason to not search. And with the West, they said the same as what Mr. Proudfoot has said. Oh, they told us just sit here. They don't need our help. You just stay right here. We got this. But as some people would say, who cares what the police said? My child's out there. I got to go find my child, my children. My children are missing. I'm not going to sit in here. Proudfoot. Oh, they don't need us. They got it. Told us to sit right here. And now you're 6 weeks in, and they haven't gotten up one time and walked the streets of their neighborhood, walked the community, by themselves or with anybody else. Why not? Also, there's some information that they've taken stickers off their car or something. People obviously are really in tune to these people, following them around, trying to see what the hell they're doing down there in the campground. For what? That's the purpose of unaliving the child. Because I checked out. I checked out because possibly I've already checked out a long time ago before you even knew who I was. So I'm going to ask Katie Proudfoot, when did you check out from mothering Sebastian Rogers? 6 weeks ago? 5 months ago? 1 year ago? 10 years ago? When you had the baby? While you carried the baby? When did you check out? Because a lot of people try to understand why a person would get rid of their kid. And he's at an age that, kind of baffling to get rid of a child that age. But the difference is he couldn't take care of himself. That's the difference. He's autistic. He couldn't go out here and possibly live on his own at 18, 21, work a job, go to college. You see what I'm saying? But we will never know if he could because he's not here. And possibly she wanted to rid herself of this burden. See, you'll never know the truth. If it was to spite the father, get back at him. Her husband tired of dealing with him. They wanted to make room for another child, his child. And the one question you're definitely asking yourself, how do two people conspire to get rid of a child? How do you both look each other in the eye and say, we're going to take the life of this kid? Well, it's been done. It has surely been done. Because people do it all the time. And if you neglect a person, torture a person, you should already know what the end result's going to be. If you allow a person to do it to your relative child, you know what the end result is going to be. You can't ever say, oh, I fear for my safety. So you're going to watch somebody mistreat your child, torture your child, and don't think your child is going to sustain life. That's idiotic. And some of you think that too. She fears her husband. I don't know what she fears. I don't know what she fears. But we don't have any proof of that. Because we don't know Katie Proudfoot and we don't know Christopher Proudfoot. But what we do know, what we have seen, it's not good. What we learned from Nina Gomez, it's not good. What we learned about that family of his is not good. You don't know people. And you don't know these people. And like they always say, with what you've heard about the Proudfoots, imagine what you don't know. How about that? I was listening to something AB said on his broadcast today about him being a sexual assaulter. Wow, that was deep. Kind of hit me in my stomach. I said, well, damn. Could he be a sexual assaulter? I don't know. But as AB said, he's cruel already. Why not? Exactly. Because you don't know him. You don't know what this man has been doing. You don't know what he did when he was in the military. You don't know what Katie was doing when she was in the military. And if a person doesn't have the fortitude to watch a child and watch the company they keep, then they're already telling you what they're about. So then you have to think present day. Why would you be shocked that he's missing? Because this happens all the time. FBI stats, 450 children unalived by their children each year. Parents unaliving their children, each year. And as I say, not the boogeyman, not the Illuminati, not any ghosts or warlocks, but their caretakers, their parents. So why in this case would you think it's somebody else? And as Sweetie Pie Lowe said in her content earlier, they have boxed themselves in to where you can't think outside the box that the child wandered off or was kidnapped, of course. And that's where they messed up as well. When you let us know that he didn't have any friends, nobody was coming to visit, nobody was inviting him anywhere, he didn't hang with the neighborhood children, he wasn't involved in any extracurricular activities, you made sure he didn't work on the internet any type of way, apps, you implicated yourselves without even knowing it. Because you didn't even give us an open window or a door or a crack. Stay woke, everybody. You see, when you plan a crime, you're supposed to put a little crack in there, a little open window. You didn't even think to do that. No fables of an odd car driving by, odd van. No, they're always white, aren't they? White vans. Oh, yes, I noticed this white van driving up and down the street. There was an older model car sitting up the way. Then you telling us about the neighbors would notice something. We never even heard you talk about the neighbors, and we haven't even heard the neighbors talk about you all as far as a boy going outside. And if you're not close to your neighbors and you don't talk to your neighbors, why would I be concerned about your child walking outside, a 15-year-old? Think about that for just a second. This is how you know how stupid Christopher Proudfoot is. He's just a dodo bird. Oh, the neighbors will let us know, blah, blah, blah. The neighbors aren't going to let you know anything because we don't even know that you're close to your neighbors. Stay woke, everybody. We haven't had one neighbor come forward to say nothing. Oh, yes, I know them. We talk. We have barbecues. We celebrate, neighborhood functions, block parties. I've heard nothing. If that little boy was walking down the street, you want me to believe that somebody that lives 5, 6 houses up would come down there and run and tell you, oh, your son's walking around. Why would they do that when they don't know you? See, everything is in the details. You got to pay attention. Oh, they would notice things if he was to go outside. They would notice. They who? Who are they? You live street for street. So you want me to believe that everybody on those little streets and cul-de-sac know who you are. They're your friends. But let you tell it, or Katie tell it, he didn't talk to anybody, he didn't do nothing. So if he did walk outside or wander outside, somebody's just going to be so concerned to come run and tell you, oh, I saw your boy outside walking. I saw him up the street a little ways. Of course they wouldn't come tell it. They have no reason to, because they don't know the damn Proudfoots. And you want me to believe that all these different people know them and talk to them? I doubt it. I truly doubt it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because nobody has come forward to even speak about the Proudfoots in this situation. Not one damn neighbor. You don't find that strange? Not one neighbor. Caddy corner, across the street, next door. Yes, there are neighbors. We talk to them. We speak to them. We know their son. We know the name of the dogs. I mean, nothing. All this running to YouTube. All this chitter-chatter. And you haven't heard from Christopher's parents about the boy missing. You haven't heard from Katie's parents. We just heard from Seth's parents a couple of days ago. His mother basically telling people, if you're here to make money, we don't want you here searching. Okay, ma'am. But as I said, YouTube is a business. But the neighbors, not one neighbor has spoken just to even talk about the situation, period. I'm supposed to be, the reporters didn't knock on anyone's door in that neighborhood just to say, hey, we just like to ask, your opinion about the young boy missing. Did you ever see anything, hear anything? You don't find that strange? And I get it, a lot of people don't like to speak because they don't want problems later down the road. Even if they didn't know anything, some people just don't want to speak, whether on camera or off. But you don't have anybody speaking on camera or off just to say, oh, that's terrible. Oh, I hope they find him. This is indeed a very bizarre case of nobody speaking about a 15-year-old boy, which leads me to believe he had a very lonely life with the Proudfoots, that he did not have a lot of interaction with other children from school or outside of school. Nobody was coming to see the child. Nobody's visiting the child because you just don't hear anybody talking about the child. All you hear is a bunch of ramblings on and on and on by the stepfather, who tries to portray himself as a doting father. They love the child, care for the child, want him back. But yet they've taken off the mother has anyway. But yet she has a whole missing kid. You see, Katie is telling you she has checked out, and she had checked out for some time. Okay? She checked out. She's been checked out. Now the question is, how long has she been checked out? Because as I said, rarely do you hear people unaliving their children at this late stage in life. But he was autistic, possibly a burden to her husband. She no longer wanted to fool with her child. I don't know. But the point is, there's no reason to unalive your child. But people do it all the time. So you think of the 450 reasons it happens every year. The unaliving of a child by his or her parent. What was their reason? And in the end, it does not matter. As I said, the other day I brought you content pertaining to the Proudfoots and the Whales, showing you the interviews. Many of you probably have not followed the West case out in California, where two little black boys were adopted by an interracial couple, and they claimed that the two little boys went missing. If you go back in time and look at that first and only interview, you will see similarities of the behavior of the adoptive mother, swaying back and forth in comparison to Katie rocking back and forth. Some people call it self-soothing. Katie looking down at the ground. And, some people don't always give eye contact when they speak, even when they're possibly telling the truth. Some people just don't give eye contact sometimes. A lot of people do it. But this case is different because we're talking about a child missing. So one would think you would at least hold your head up and look at the person that's talking to you. But she's solemn, and possibly she is guilty, felt guilty when she talked to Olivia. I don't know. But she doesn't feel guilty enough to tell you the truth. Oh yeah, I unalived my kid. Me and my husband both conspired to get rid of my 15-year-old boy. I doubt she would tell you that. There's not enough guilt in the world for her to tell the truth unless there's evidentiary material to show she and her husband conspired to kill this kid. And then she might flip on him. So I ask you, if you think the Proudfoots have harmed this boy and discarded him, whose idea was it? Whose idea was it? And how do you make yourself go along with unaliving a child? How do you sleep at night knowing you conspired to unalive a child, discarded a child, and then wake up and dial 911 to say the child is missing, and continue to spread falsehoods about what happened on that fateful Sunday? And the husband continues to talk to YouTubers, spinning more rhetoric and lies pertaining to that day, and whatever business he thinks is necessary to repeat to the public, which has no bearing on anything, because you can't verify anything that comes out of the mouth of Chris Proudfoot. And that's the gist of the story. Check the website. They got up-to-date information. You're entitled to your opinion, your assumptions, but we know the facts. Oh, I know you know the facts, but you haven't given us the facts. Isn't that right, Christopher? You continue to give us souped up versions of your jacked up reality and sick narcissism, sociopathic behavior. I know better. I know best. I am right. I'm the head knocker. Hear me roar. You're a chest beater. You beat your chest going to bed. You beat your chest waking up. But in the end, most of us don't believe a damn thing you've said about Sebastian. So if I were you, I'd stop talking to people because you're making a fool out of yourself. And Katie, you've made a fool out of yourself by leaving your house, knowing you have a child missing. And the fact that in all of these interviews, you all tell the public to stop assuming stuff and continue to search. Well, why are you expecting people in the public to search for your child and you're not doing it? And then those who were trying to search, allegedly, flyers went missing. Now, who took those? And why would anybody take flyers down of a missing child? Please help me understand. Because there's somebody out there that don't want you all to find Sebastian Rodgers. And who might that be? CP and KP. You have any ideas? Do they have people working with them to sabotage this investigation and searches? I do believe so. I do believe so. And that's a dangerous thing when you have others in collusion. Once again, my advice to CP and KP, just tell the truth about the boy, because you don't know what law enforcement has. And naturally, they're not going to tell you or us, and they're not going to post it on the TBI website, Christopher. So do yourself a favor and stop spinning these web of lies to YouTubers, because it's becoming daunting and it's ridiculous and it's in poor taste, because you obviously don't keep up with the stories you spin and you have been caught lying. And as we say in the street, you lie about the little things, you lie about the big things. And when it comes to somebody missing, the little things are big things. And that's the gist of this story. You don't know what the truth is, because the people who are behind the story spinning, fable spinning, are the ones that got the child gone. So you're not going to get the truth. Thank you all so much for joining me. God bless all of you. I'll be back with more stimulating content. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAndrew129. Cash App, stickers, and chats are always welcome during the live stream. The Proudfoots know exactly where this boy child is. And if you notice, Katie's not talking much because she can't look the reporter or anybody in the eye when she spins her lies. And I also noticed, yes, Mr. Proudfoot, you didn't have your wedding ring on in that interview with Olivia. Why is that? And you were home, so you can't say, oh, I was working, I didn't want to lose my wedding ring. Thank you, sweetheart. Christopher, why didn't you have your wedding ring on in that Chronicles of Olivia interview? Have you been going without your ring before the boy child went missing? See, there's always somebody that pays attention to something. See, I didn't watch their interviews because once I realize a person is lying, I don't have the need to indulge in following their content from place to place. Some people indulge in that. That's not my thing. So, Christopher, I want to ask you before I check out of here, why didn't you have your wedding ring on during that interview with Olivia? I saw that Katie had hers on. In another interview with the hands interview, that is a very weird interview. I will agree with Miss Sweetie Pie Low. Why did you all not let them show your face? Why not? That's very strange. One interview, you talking to the news. Next interview with the hands. Well, what's that all about? Because it's kind of hard to lie to the camera, is it not? Of course it is. And she was just rubbing his arm. Did you all notice that? With her finger? Oh, yeah, I picked that up. And as Sweetie Pie said, I don't think she's swaying. Of course not. She didn't sway, Sweetie Pie, because the camera wasn't on her face. Stay woke now. But you can see her little finger just soothing over his arm. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, very interesting. I got a feeling that the Proudfoots have a turbulent life together, although Chris stays on the road. I don't think they have much of a marriage. I think this may have been a do or die situation. It's either him or I. The wife? Are you talking about the wife? Ex-wife, Nina? Yes. If that's what you're speaking of. Oh, God, Kimberly. Well, I won't doubt that there are some other women who have tails. And as I said, after Nina coming forward, I would suspect that there will be other women that will probably come forward. I won't doubt that he's on the date site. I won't doubt if right now you were to go on to Match.com or POF, you would possibly see a profile of Christopher Proudfoot, because old habits die hard. And a lot of men who travel for work, they do have girlfriends, they do have wives, and they put up a profile on the date sites and they change it per the location that they end up, especially truck drivers. They do that. As I had spoken to you all about this before, if they stop in, let's say, Alabama, they'll change the profile to Alabama. Then when they pick up and get ready to go on the road and they're going to, let's say, Texas, then they change the location to Texas. I've seen it before and dealt with it personally. It's all a game. That's why I don't recommend any woman dating a man that travels for work, because 9 times out of 10, he has a whole wife, a girlfriend, children back home. And I've seen it 1,000 times. Whether they're truckers, whether they're doing construction work, they'll hook up with a young lady. They might play footsies with her in that town where they're working. But they have a whole nother life somewhere else. And I believe these two were having problems. I won't doubt she probably tracked his phone, seen some things suspicious. Then rearing this boy child, don't know the seriousness of the relationship between all three. And I think this was a do or die situation. I think it's either your son or it's me. And I think she possibly got rid of her son. And it would not shock me none that Katie unalived him. And then she called him, or they conspired together. I won't doubt it. Well, it happens all the time, sweetheart. It happens all the time. And what'll be interesting is that, yes, I heard about that, that she was possibly dating Christopher. And that's the whole point of what I'm trying to say, is that old habits die hard. If you were cheating on your husband with a man, and God forbid, this was the guy she was cheating with or others, old habits die hard. You see, you get back what you put out. That's the one thing people don't understand about karma. I won't doubt that he was dating different women, probably dating Katie and different women at the same time. Then they hooked up, moved, here to Tennessee. But the thing people don't understand, and some people do, that old habits die hard. You're still the same person if you don't decide to change. So he didn't know Katie, she didn't know him. And possibly when they got to Tennessee, she got a glimpse of who he is. Now, she does not have to ever admit to anyone that she knows she is with the Joker. Okay? I had someone once tell me that. I may know I've done you wrong, but I don't have to tell you that I've wronged you. I don't have to admit to it. Exactly. So she knows who she's dealing with. And 9 times out of 10, he knows who he's dealing with. And they're riding this donkey ride together. They were riding it before the boy got missing. But I believe it was a coin toss. It's either him or I. Take your pick. But you can't have both. And we've seen women do this with children. They will unalive their children or allow the person to abuse their child to where the child ends up deceased. Because they want to stay in the favor and the graces of that man. Be it a husband, boyfriend, whichsoever. And it happens all the time. And it also is a known fact that it's usually a male abuser who's the outsider that's doing the abusing of the child. Ridiculing. I don't think this boy had a chance. And it's sad because he was at an age where he was just a few years shy of being an adult. But the gist of the story is he need a caretaker. So he wasn't your average child that would grow up to become an adult and then could go out on his own, go to school, get a trade, get an apartment, so on and so forth. I don't think that was in the cards for him. I don't know. I don't know how, the level of his disability was. But let's just say he wasn't going to be able to go out on his own at 18, 21. They knew they'd be stuck with him. Okay? Stuck with him. That's a terrible way of saying it, but maybe that's how she saw it and that's how Chris saw it. And someone will say, well, he had the father. All she has to do is let him go live with the father. But the point is, we really don't know the dynamics of why they would unalive the child. Could be various reasons. Like I said, it could be spite. Could be, he would want child support from her. Because, expect her to be in his, expect the woman to be in his life, and she knew she didn't want to be. You see, that's another thing that most people don't think about. People are going to expect me to be his mother, even if he doesn't stay with me. People will expect me to call, visit, go pick him up, spend time with him. I want out. I want out completely. I don't want to be bothered anymore. So to save face, we get rid of the child. And now I'm unobligated. And I'm kind of believing that is part of the reason of getting rid of him. Because you see, she's now taken off. And in this day and time of having bills to pay, mortgages, light, gas, rent, insurance, so on and so forth, they got a camper, they got nice cars. You got to pay for all that. So you're going to leave with a whole child missing? Number one, you got bills to pay. Leave your house unattended with all this craziness going on. Ask yourself, does that make any sense? It doesn't. So now there's only one income. One income. And depending on what type of man he is, he may get tired of that. Well, we need that money you were making. And now, for the ultimate question. Whose idea was it to go down to Memphis? Did Chris invite Katie? Or did she invite herself? I didn't, well, they may not buffalo, because I have asked that question as well. Is this a last hurrah of Hendersonville? Will we later look up, there's a for sale sign? Oh, people will really get to talking crazy then. They will really get to talking crazy then. They put up a for sale sign. But that's the gist of the story of what I'm saying. There's so many avenues to question why the boy went missing, if I'm to believe that they are the culprits. But she has no ties now. She has no burden now. She's not obligated now. So all in all, they could move near Memphis, outside of Memphis, Mississippi, Arkansas, wherever, because there's nothing to hold her here now. No matter what the motive was, the point is it's over with. So they can go Memphis, Arkansas, Alabama, back to California. See where I'm going? And I don't see him getting faith again. I won't even see him getting visitation rights with that child, because the whole child is now missing in their custody. He's cut his own ties with Faith. And even if I believe they did all this for Faith, it was a bad move, because no judge is going to allow you to see this child, especially unsupervised, and you got a whole kid missing. And then what you've played out on YouTube and what Ms. Gomez has repeated, a judge would be a fool to allow any child in their custody, period, supervised or unsupervised. That's my commentary, everybody. Thank you for joining me. You've been listening to the Vol XL.